Hi, everybody. My name is Andrea. I'm so happy to be here. So welcome to my presentation. I really appreciate your attention. Let's get started. So who am I? So I'm an American expat, and I have lived, worked, studied, or volunteered in Mexico, Argentina, Germany, England, Italy, China, and as I said, I'm from the US. And I'm also a transformational life coach and EFT tapping practitioner for expats and digital nomads. So how did I get here? Well, I'm from Rochester, Minnesota, and I had kind of a difficult high school time. My parents went through a very nasty divorce. I got very depressed. I was hanging out with the wrong people, and I didn't have any of the emotional tools to be able to deal with things in a healthy way at the time. And I wanted to go out and explore the world. That was the solution I found for where I was and feeling unfulfilled and honestly, my life didn't have much point at the time. So I was working at a restaurant and I saved up money to go on a trip after my high school graduation, went to Europe, backpacked through a lot of different countries, and it suddenly gave me this possibility of the world and that my life could be different because I didn't know what I wanted in life. I didn't know what I wanted in the world. I didn't know who I was, but I knew that I wasn't going to find it in Minnesota. So I had two jobs at the time. I worked at Applebee's and I also worked waiting tables at a sports bar, saved up $15,000 and I moved to Mexico. Now, I don't have to tell you that back in 1996, this was not something that anybody I knew had done, and it wasn't something that anybody thought was a good idea. But I knew that I just had to trust myself and trust my heart and what I wanted, and that I had to go out and find what I was looking for. And that ended up being me. So I'm not going to lie, the first night that I got to Mexico, I was staying in a guest house with a family and I didn't speak any Spanish. I didn't know anybody there at the time. I just knew that I was going to study Spanish, take art classes and photography classes. But when I arrived there, the señor of the house was very, very kind, let me in, showed me my room. It was quite late at night. And he closed the door and said that he'd see me in the morning. And I sat down on my bed and I cried. I started wondering to myself, am I brave? Am I crazy? Am I stupid? And all of these things that come up when you suddenly realize that you have just made a huge, huge life decision. However, what I didn't realize at the time was that experience was going to change the entire trajectory of my life. So I met all these people from all over the world. I learned Spanish. I was part of the culture. And it suddenly gave me this purpose and possibility of exploring and learning and being out in the world. And that wasn't the first time that I picked up and moved. As I was in university, I also did several long study abroad programs in Argentina and also Italy. And I went to South America after my university graduation and backpacked all around South America. And I ended up at 28 years old moving to China by myself. Now, China was a whole other league because, first of all, my family was Mexican, or my grandmother's family is Mexican, but I didn't speak Chinese. I didn't know anybody. This was a completely different culture for me. And same thing, I sat down on my bed the first night when I got there to the language school where I was going to teach English. I signed up for a 6-month program. I'm not a teacher, but I signed up for that program because you could use a college degree. I sat there and I cried. And again, wondering, am I crazy? Am I stupid? What have I gotten myself into this time? Thinking to myself, wow, Andrea, now you've really done it. But actually moving to China was one of the most scary and crazy and empowering things that I have ever done. The whole experience taught me to be adaptive, to learn, to be open-minded, to adjust to new cultures and people. And that whole experience shaped basically who I am as a person today as an adult. I met people from all over the world. I had wonderful friendships with Chinese people as well. And that was a turning point in my life. So anyway, after I was in China, I had met a German guy. So I ended up in Germany and did my master's program here. So I've been here for about 10 years. And during the pandemic, unfortunately, like many people, I got laid off. And of course, my story is not unique in that way. It was happening all over the world. And I felt like it was an opportunity for me to really step outside my comfort zone and become a coach. I had been wanting to do this for a while. I've always been into personal growth in terms of healing my own past experiences, understanding who I was, managing my emotions better, and improving my communication. So I really decided that I was going to go get certified in coaching during lockdown and EFT tapping. And what happens when you step out of your comfort zone? All of the negative talk comes in. And I realized how many limiting beliefs I had that, like, you don't know what you're doing, you're not good enough, you don't know anything about starting a business in Germany, you'll never figure out the tax things, who's going to want to believe you? And all of these negative self-talks are unfortunately very common, and they can even cause us to self-sabotage. So I thought to myself, okay, this is the time where I'm really going to get my own transformational coach, because that was also part of our curriculum. We had to be coached. And that was really what changed my life, in the last few years, because I had accountability and I had somebody to help me work through my fogginess and find clarity and hold me accountable when I said that I was going to do things. And through my EFT tapping certification programs, we had to work on all of our limiting beliefs and fears and past experiences that we needed to heal. And that is truly what has gotten me where I am today. And so now I can happily say that I can help others do the same. So let's talk a little bit about expat life. So moving abroad is one of the most amazing experiences that you can possibly have in life. It's also very scary, but it's thrilling, it's exhilarating, and there are so many positives in it. So, I mean, on one hand, you can have like a new life full of, adventure. Everything has a novelty, from like different new foods and where you go to the supermarket and the bakery down the street, and being part of a community and a neighborhood and everything like that. It allows you to, recreate yourself and your life in another country. And for me, during certain times in my life, that was usually after something that was quite negative, and it was having a chance that I can rebuild things. And the other thing, of course, is so many people move abroad because there are new professional opportunities that maybe they wouldn't be able to get in their own country, or they just want new experiences, as well as also experiences, with personal life, maybe meeting people from other countries that you date or fall in love with, or also, having friends from all over the world. And of course, having exciting experiences and the opportunity to discover new parts of the world. So for me, every continent that I've lived on, for example, in Beijing, I was able to explore Thailand and Vietnam and the Philippines. And when I was in Argentina, I could explore Peru and Bolivia and South America. And in Europe, I don't need to tell you that because a lot of things are quite close by, I've been able to really explore and get to know so many other countries and cultures. But there's also challenges, no lifestyle is easy, no matter what anybody tells you. There are benefits and there's disadvantages. There are good things and bad things and things that are difficult. So let's talk about some of the challenges of expat life. So for a lot of people, being by themselves, if they move abroad, like, it can be hard to create an independent life when it's a new culture, it's a new language. Maybe there are business practices or things like that that you're just really not sure how they operate or how they work. And one of the biggest things that expats face is loneliness. That can come from not having a social system and, not knowing, not necessarily having, good friends at work. They might just be colleagues. It can be very difficult to fit in, especially if you're trying to learn a language, or you don't feel confident about, maybe you have an accent when you speak, or maybe you just don't know the word. And so you kind of, you make yourself shy to kind of fit in. And the other thing is, like, a lot of people move abroad to another country for a partner. And this can also be very difficult because the partner already has an established life there, is familiar with everything. And as somebody who's new to the culture, you are so lost and confused, and it can be really hard. And the other thing, of course, is, it's difficult sometimes to make friends. I mean, that very much depends on the culture and obviously maybe your profession and who you get to know, but especially as we age, and you might not have the time and energy to go to a lot of different meetup groups and meet, new people all of the time. So the consequence of that is it can lead to a lot of stress and anxiety, and it can affect your emotional health. So with all of these factors, especially like a new job where you feel you have to prove yourself, feeling isolated, or maybe you moved abroad for a partner and they have to work all the time and you're kind of left to fend for yourself, it can lead to a lot of different things with your emotional health. And of course, the component that's most important is you might not have a strong support system like you did back home. Whereas at home, you might be able to go count on your parents or your family members or a friend circle that you have. It can definitely be challenging if your, emotional health isn't very good and you don't feel like you have anywhere to turn to. So it's important, though, when going into these challenging situations, like as an expat and dealing with them, that we maintain our emotional health. Because think about it, when you're in an emotionally healthy place, you feel more stable, you feel more confident, you feel more emotionally resilient and able to deal with things that might occur during the day or in general. And if you're not, you might feel easily triggered, easily frustrated, easily ashamed, and many other things. So now I want to talk a little bit about the role of coaching and EFT tapping. So what is EFT tapping? So EFT stands for the Emotional Freedom Technique. And basically, it looks kind of funny, but you tap certain acupuncture points that are on the face. And what this does is it calms the nervous system, and it basically turns off your body's fight, flight, or freeze response. So it can be used in a couple different ways as like a DIY, do-it-yourself solution. And the first is to use it in the morning as a preventative measure. And when you use it in the morning as a preventative measure, just for 5 or 10 minutes, there's many YouTube videos that you can check out. It will calm your nervous system and allow you to be calm and grounded and focused going into your day. That makes you less reactive, less likely to get overwhelmed easily, and those kinds of things. The other thing is using it throughout the day to manage your stress levels. So there are so many things that we cannot control during the course of our day. Our boss might write an email that we don't like and we feel we made a mistake. Or, our children might do something, or maybe our partner says something that really bothers us. EFT tapping can be used in like 5 to 10 minutes just to be able to recalibrate and start at a grounded base point again. And the other way that you can use it is for emotional recalibration. And so let's say that you're having a totally good week, except for one big thing happens, and suddenly everything is derailed. So in using EFT tapping for these things, for the fear and the worry and the anxiety, you can get a sense of calm again. And this is so important. So one of the other ways that I like to use EFT tapping with my clients, in addition to emotional health, is for some of the confidence struggles that we can have as expats when we're living abroad. Because obviously, when we're at home, working in our professional capacity in a company, in our own language, in our own culture, we know how things work. But sometimes when we're, like I lived in China, we might not understand the certain cultural dynamics that are happening. And we can also feel like we're not good enough. We can feel like everybody's going to find out we don't know what we're doing. Maybe we don't like public speaking in general. And then it's really, really, really harder when you try to do it in another language. So how does imposter syndrome affect your professional performance and well-being in this situation? Well, the downside is that, of course, it can affect your ability to take risks. You might not want to apply for a promotion because you feel somebody else will get it. You don't feel good enough. You can minimize risks where you should be trying to step outside of your comfort zone and really do something bigger and better, at work. And The other thing is of course, it can make you feel small and shy and not confident and not willing to be assertive and put yourself out there and even have good boundaries. So some of the characteristics of imposter syndrome include like feeling like a fraud. It can be also tied to perfectionism in terms of thinking that, it's never good enough. You always have to try harder. You always have to burn yourself out. Nobody else needs help. You're the one who's helpless. All of these kind of things that actually can lead to burnout. So let's talk about EFT tapping for challenging limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs can also include things like imposter syndrome. Limiting beliefs are things that we get from past experiences, things we've seen, things we were told, that make us feel like we're not good enough, not smart enough. They're going to laugh at us. They're going to criticize us. And it can also bring up all sorts of fears. And these fears are like, the fear of rejection, the fear of being criticized, fear of failure. And when you use EFT tapping, you can release these fears over the course of time, because with these fears, there are usually lots of different kinds of experiences and evidence that we've created that confirm these fears. But if we work on them one by one, it's kind of like peeling an onion. You're getting to the heart of it so that you can create evidence for yourself to empower yourself and move forward. So EFT tapping is especially helpful for negative self-talk and also feelings of inadequacy. Negative self-talk is, the little mean voice that comes up in the back of your mind when you're like, I want to do this. This is a really good idea. And that little voice says, no, you can't. You're not smart enough. You don't know what you're doing. All those kinds of things that happened to me when I originally wanted to start a business. And when you do EFT tapping to articulate the truth of how you feel, you can release it so that you can put some more confident beliefs on top of them to replace them. And lastly, you can use EFT to overcome the feelings of, being a fraud, that you don't know what you're doing, always kind of second guessing yourself, always having self-doubt. And that's one of the best ways that you can use EFT, especially if you're living abroad and you don't feel comfortable as a foreigner. So let's talk a little bit about transformational coaching. So transformational coaching is essential for a couple of reasons. It, first of all, helps you kind of clear through the fog and figure out what it is that you do want. And finding that clarity is so important because a lot of times we're used to thinking, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't like this, whatever. But we haven't really figured out clear intentions and goals to change things. The other thing is figuring out, where are you holding yourself back? Because a lot of times, unfortunately, when we're afraid, or worried about things, we tend to create these blocks for ourselves. Like, I could never do that because of this, or I'm not the kind of person who does this. And when we address these kinds of limiting beliefs, then we can challenge them and we can reduce them with EFT tapping so that it gives you a feeling of confidence. So we do that by starting with evaluating where you are and where would you like to be. What's working in your life, in health, wealth, personal life, social life, and where might you be holding yourself back? And where would you like to be in 6 months or a year or 5 years? And then the accountability is the important part, because sometimes, we make all of these intentions to ourselves, but we don't actually keep them. And sometimes even that's because self-sabotage can creep in. And this is where having a coach is really good for accountability, to be like, okay, this is what we said we were going to do. So this is how we're going to move forward, And the other thing is, when a lot of times trying to move forward in life, we have past experiences that can affect our self-esteem. Like, for example, if you had an experience as a kid trying to talk in front of the class, and let's say the teacher criticized you, everybody laughed, you might learn during that moment that it's not safe to be seen. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of putting myself out there. And when I'm in the spotlight, they hurt me or they criticize me. And that can be something that you're taking into the future, 30, 40 years even, fully grown adult with different tools and all of this knowledge and experience. but you still have the same fears that you carry from childhood. And that's another way that we can use coaching with EFT tapping to remove those so that you can have more self-esteem. And the last one, so building confidence. So it's important to think of confidence, as an expat, as a muscle. It's not a light switch that you turn on and off. I mean, sure, that might happen sometimes in your life. You might have a light bulb moment and be confident, but for most of us, it's something that needs to come gradually. So it's important to take deliberate steps and create small bits of evidence for yourself moving forward while working on your fears, releasing your anxieties, so that you can create new evidence to have a self-belief. So, in summary, where do you think you need to recreate, refresh, or rebuild the life that you have? So, it's important, as I said, that we need to have emotional health, first of all, so that we can even get to the place where we can clearly define our intentions and goals and carry them out. That means managing our stress levels, managing our anxiety, managing our boundaries and protecting our energy, and recalibrating our emotional health throughout the day. And secondly, using coaching and EFT tapping together as valuable tools to enhance the quality of life, because it gives you more confidence while removing the fears and anxiety and self-doubts that can come along with that. So if you're interested in working with me, I can help you take your expat or digital nomad life and your confidence to the next level. So you can join my Recreate Your Life coaching program. This can help you rebuild confidence after a burnout or a breakup or a job loss or a big move abroad. It can also help you to release the emotional charge of past memories, people, and events that still might be affecting you and causing your confidence to wane. It can help you recreate self-love after a difficult time where you might have felt kind of knocked down in life, which has been very common, unfortunately, the last few years. It can help you release perfectionism and gain compassion for yourself and understanding and self-love. It can help you forgive yourself from the past, forgive other people in your life, refresh your emotional health, and release stress and anxiety. So all of these things are part of the components of my program that also include, as I said, a life audit at the beginning and seeing where you want to be. And then after the 6 sessions, we look and see how you've come out and which things you've been able to successfully move forward from, and which things you've been able to successfully release from your past and let go that were holding you back, so that you can master the art of living deliberately. So thank you so much, everybody. I really look forward to hearing from all of you. You can reach out to me at www.dreyahunt.com if you're interested in scheduling a free discovery call with me and you'd like to talk about your progress and you need somebody who understands the expat challenges and digital nomad life. I'm your girl. So thank you, everybody, so much for your attention.